Underway for the gunman involved in last night's mass shooting in Maine.
As you've heard, at least 18 people have died and 13 others are hurt. The suspect shot up a bowling alley and a restaurant in Maine's second largest city.
Yeah, the suspect is facing 8 counts of murder so far, pending the identification of the other victim. CBS's Bradley Blackburn reports from Lewiston, Maine.
Authorities in Maine are urging residents to shelter in place as they hunt for the gunman believed to be responsible for Wednesday's deadly mass shooting.
He should be considered armed and dangerous. Based on our investigation, we believe this is someone that should not be approached.
We have an active shooter. We have multiple injuries.
Officials say 40-year-old Robert Card, seen here in surveillance photos, opened fire inside a Lewiston bowling alley that hosts a children's bowling league.
Out of nowhere, he just came in and there was a loud pop. Thought it was a balloon.
About 10 minutes later, police believe the U.S. Army reservist fired at patrons inside a restaurant 4 miles away. A vehicle belonging to the suspect was found shortly before midnight in a nearby town.
You and me and all these people standing here, we all got to fear for our lives today.
Homicides here in Maine's second largest city are rare. The state itself has long been considered one of the safest in the nation.
This city did not deserve this terrible assault on its citizens, on its peace of mind, on its sense of security. No city does.
A New York National Guard spokesperson says Card was taken to a hospital for a medical evaluation in July after acting erratically during training at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. As the investigation continues, President Biden has ordered flags to be flown at half-staff nationwide in honor of the victims. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, Lewiston, Maine.
The shooting in Maine was the 36th mass killing in the U.S. so far this year. Attorney General Merrick Garland says the FBI, ATF, and U.S. Marshals are on the ground to provide investigative support to local law enforcement.
No doubt anytime we hear about a tragedy like this, there are 2 afterthoughts. Some people want to blame guns. Others say mental health is the concern. WfMY News 2's Amber Lake met a local pastor who says the mental health crisis needs to be addressed.
18 people so far were killed and 13 people were injured in the shootings in Lewiston, Maine. Here at home, community leaders say situations like that are a constant conversation that they're having. Dwayne Young is a pastor in Stokes County. He says his congregation is always talking about if they have enough safety and whether they're prepared for an active shooter situation. Young told me the governor just recently met online with pastors and local law enforcement to talk about this issue. One thing Pastor Young says needs to be addressed is the mental health crisis and how to help those impacted.
We're making strides, and especially locally. We have a group that convenes on a regular basis to discuss these very issues and to talk about what the church's role is, the faith community's role is in assisting these people.
It's also important to know what to do if you ever find yourself in an active shooter situation. Former Guilford County Deputy Daryl Loftus says it's always good to be prepared.
You never know where this is going to happen at. You never know wherever you're at on the face of the map where there's a potential for this to happen. So I can't encourage people enough to have that frame of mind, that thought process of being mentally prepared for anything that occurs on.
Former Deputy Loftus tells me people should use the run, hide, fight method in an active shooter situation. If you get out, run. If not, barricade the door and find somewhere to hide. And lastly, fight if you have no more options.
Amber, thank you. This tragedy in Maine is something that we will be following for a while. You can already watch our comprehensive coverage on WfMYnews2.com.
Shocking new details in the attempted murder and kidnapping case in High Point. We are hearing from the 17-year-old victim in this whole ordeal. Alondra Flores says she was kidnapped by her ex-boyfriend, 18-year-old Francisco Arvalo. She says he abducted her after she told him she no longer wanted to be in a relationship. Flores says he dragged her out of her home at knife point and threw her in his car.
In the car, I couldn't move at all, neither speak well. But later on, when I was already in the hospital, getting IVs and that, I was able to move my legs and everything. They just had told me I fractured my upper spine. I've suffered domestic violence with him before, but it was really unexpected that night that he came into my house like that.
The suspect and Flores were found Tuesday morning after their car crashed in Christiansburg, Virginia, a little over 2 hours away. Flores was taken to the hospital and she's expected to recover. Arvalo is facing several charges in High Point, which include attempted murder and kidnapping. He's also expected to face additional charges in Virginia as well.
Let's get to your 4 to 5 roundup now. First up today, a broken water main has caused quite the mess in downtown Greensboro. This is a live picture as workers fix the break and repair on McGee Street. It's closed from Cedar to Spring as they work to fix it. It even forced nearby Weaver Academy to dismiss early today. The city says it expects the work to be complete by tomorrow. Obviously, you should avoid the area if you can.
And we're also learning about a gun found at Alamance High School. Alamance Burlington School says it confiscated off a student after they received a tip. The gun was found with 2 bullets inside a magazine. The high school did not go on lockdown and no one was injured. The district says the student caught with the gun will be disciplined.
Well, we've had lots of sunshine and seasonably warm temperatures for the past few days, and that is going to continue heading into tonight and in the next several days, including your weekend. A look at the satellite and radar. Not much to see out there. Pretty nice and clear skies, maybe a couple of cirrus clouds, but overall, high pressure is dominating the triad, allowing for lots of sunshine. Temperatures crawling up into the middle and upper 70s still as we speak just after the 4 o'clock hour. 76 in Greensboro, 77 in Asheboro, and 79 in Albemarle. Next 12 hours are going to be falling back down into the 50s, a cooler start to the day into tomorrow. So tonight we're going to be in the middle 50s. Tomorrow, though, we are flirting with the lower 80s, and that continues not only heading into Friday, but also into your weekend plans. But big changes are on the way next week. We're watching a cold front that's going to drop our temperatures possibly into the lower 30s. So the warmth is only going to last for so long. I've got a better look at your forecast and your 7-day. That's coming up in just a couple minutes.
Our Friday football fever game of the week is set. The game between Eastern Randolph and Randleman got 16,000 votes.
Yeah, this isn't just your typical matchup. While the players on both sides prepare for the showdown, their hearts are with Randleman's head coach, Shane Timmon, who's had to step away from the program. Timmon's 2-year-old daughter, Ophi, was recently diagnosed with a rare form of brain cancer. Timmons moved his whole family to Memphis so his daughter could get the best treatment.
After multiple surgeries, therapies, and scans, Ophi is moving to radiation treatment now. Coach gave us an update yesterday on his daughter's progress.
She's doing great. She's still her spunky little self. She'll give you knuckles, and she messes with all the nurses and RT and doctors that come in. Stole a doctor's stethoscope the other day and started messing around. She can't speak right now, but she talks with her eyebrows.
Since learning about Ophi's diagnosis back in September, the Randolph County community has rallied to support the Timmons family. Last week, Trinity High School helped raise over $5,000 to support the family. Now, other schools like Providence Grove and Wheatmore High School have also pitched in to help.
Next week, the Classic Family Restaurant in Denton, where he's from, will host a benefit dinner for that family. And while Timmons is in Memphis with his family, his best friend and assistant coach has taken over the football program, and so far they are undefeated.
Good for them.
Well, it's so nice to hear that they are undefeated, and so much more beautiful to see them pouring in support for his family during such a difficult time. I can't imagine, obviously, having to leave the team and go all the way over towards Memphis, but sometimes things like this call for those types of measures.
Volunteered a long time ago. I volunteered at a pediatric hospital for a while, and it's just so different when you see little ones like that. I mean, she's what, 2, I think, right? They just shouldn't have to go through that, but thank goodness they have that support group.
It's incredible when you see other high school teams coming out to hold fundraisers for your opponent, you know, for your rival on the football field. I mean, once something like this happens, I mean, football takes a back seat.
That's right.
Everything, and it's community and it's family. It's great to see they have all this support, and we are definitely thinking of them as well.
We are, absolutely. We'll be right back.
Let's try now. Can you hear me now? Okay, good. So I'm talking about office politics. Great.
Office politics. Many times we might cringe when we think about problems at work. You might like your job, but not the drama. And this is what Blanca Cobb, who has a master's degree in psychology, and I are talking about today. And October happens to be Workplace Politics Awareness Month. Blanca, let's jump right into it. What are some examples of office politics?
You might think of the usual like gossiping or blaming or even stealing credit, but did you realize that some people actually spy on their coworkers to figure out what they're doing and how they can use it to their own advantage? Or they even might withhold information that could help everybody on the team, but they keep it to themselves. Why? Because they're only interested in them getting the advantage and moving ahead.
And how do we tend to get caught up in all of this?
There are a lot of different reasons. Sometimes people don't even realize they're getting caught up into something until it's a little too late, or they know that one group at work seems to be more influential than others. And so they just kind of join along the crowd. When people are concerned about mobility at work, whether they can move up that corporate ladder or change different jobs at work, there's a lot of reasons. And then also some people are just unsure of their ability and their skills. So they feel like they have to do something to get themselves an edge, even though it's the wrong way to go about it.
Sure. What can you do if you find yourself involved in office politics?
Well, if you just happen to walk into it, as the saying goes, this is where you really just need to stay neutral and figure out, like, and ask yourself, how did this even happen? If it's something that you have put yourself into and it kind of bites you later on because you get caught up in it, then this is where you have to accept responsibility. What have you done? Who have you hurt? How can you fix it and make sure that you make a long-lasting change? If it's a situation where you're just not sure about how you got involved, having clear boundaries to everybody at work about what you're willing and not willing to participate is a great way to go. Also, make sure that you have open and honest communication. You want to clear up any miscommunications that are out there. And then also, if there's a problem, this is where you can really be proactive. Why? Because when you're proactive, then a problem doesn't tend to fester as long, and it doesn't get as get complicated.
All right, Blanca, thank you so much. You can continue the conversation with Blanca on her Facebook page, Blanca Cobb, body language expert. We'll be right back.
Well, it's devastating damage in Mexico as the country weathers Hurricane Otis. Now, according to Mexico's government, at least 27 are dead, 4 are missing. There's widespread flooding and people are being evacuated to safer areas. Officials say Hurricane Otis hit as a Category 5. They say it intensified unexpectedly as it made landfall. This was yesterday. It ripped large trees from the ground by the roots. The storm destroyed hotels all along Acapulco's beachfront, shattering windows. And while the worst of the storm may be over, it left a massive path of destruction behind and debris for residents and law enforcement to start cleaning up.
Prayers for those in that area. For us here locally, though, much different weather stories we've been watching. Temperatures regain themselves back in the middle and upper 70s, even lower 80s. 80 degrees there in High Point, flirting with the 80s these next couple of days, and lots of sunshine sticks around in the forecast thanks to high pressure. A couple of upper level cirrus clouds as of now. There's high pressure sitting just off the coast. That's going to be a main driver for lots of sunshine these next couple of days and also into the weekend. However, changes are on the way as this cold front slowly approaches later on into the weekend and sweeps through on Monday. That's going to bring us much cooler air heading throughout the day on Halloween. But again, before we get to that point, as that system approaches, going to be seeing lots of warmer air across the area, waking up to the middle 50s, back in the middle upper 70s, and even lower 80s possible for your Friday. Weather story continues just like this heading into your upcoming weekend as well. And because of these above average temperatures, another big driver is this upper level ridge that is going to push offshore. This deepening trough moving into the area is also going to be bringing in that wind out of the north. Much cooler air is on the way into next week. But as of right now into tomorrow, we are back in the middle and upper 70s. So tonight we're going to be sitting in the lower and middle 50s, partly cloudy conditions, and into tomorrow partly sunny. We're back in the lower 80s. Changes though on the way as promised in your 7-day forecast. We're back in the lower 80s heading into your Saturday and Sunday. So make sure you wear short sleeves with those weekend plans. But next week we're back down into the 50s for highs with overnight lows and the chilly lower 30s.
Well, did you happen to see the record attempt at Lake Townsend? The entire lake was closed to fishing and boat traffic today, so some Princeton University students could try and set the American Powerboat Association's straightaway kilo record for an electric powered boat. These students are part of a Princeton group that basically builds and races electric boats. We spoke to one of the students, a part of the project.
The team started about 3 years ago. By Nathan Yates, who's here with us today. And about a year and a half into the club, we looked at the boats we had built and we looked at the then standing record of 88.6 by Jaguar and said, we think we can beat this. And as a team, we're super excited. We kind of say we're just getting started. We're only 3 years old. We've got more planned, and this is for us the stepping stone to get us into the limelight, show, hey, we're Princeton, we're here.
And the group was actually able to break 2 records. Their boat broke the record for average and straight line speed of an electric boat.
Like more than 100 miles an hour.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that crazy?
Right?
I wouldn't want to be in the way of that.
No, that's why they had to clear the lake out.
Yeah, out of the way. I couldn't even imagine where to begin to start to make something like that. So kudos to them.
You feel like you're out of control, I would think. That'd be so hard to steer that thing at 100 miles an hour and you hit the waves while you go.
I was reading more about it because my first thought was, don't they have any lakes closer to Princeton than the lake here in Great?
I thought about that as well too. Yeah, that's a good
and
point.
Apparently they said that it's just like good conditions on this lake and perfect setup, and I don't know if the climate plays a role in it, but so this is where they chose to do it.
Yeah, looks like a tiger. The
Yeah,
way
it
that,
does.
yeah, you know.
Yeah. I would want to be the one driving. I feel like I wouldn't want to be sitting in the back seat.
No.
I think I can do that.
You said you'd want to be which?
I'd be driving.
You
Rather
would
be
you'd be driving.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm in charge. Yeah.
So that means you wouldn't take it up to 100 miles per hour.
Probably not.
No.
No.
I'll be on the sidelines. You're doing great.
You're doing great.
Both of you are killing it.
You're doing great.
Good for you.
Go team.
We'll be right back.
A man in Arizona believes a meteorite crashed into his backyard. And look at the evidence of it. There is a charred hole in his deck and a strange magnetic rock underneath.
I'm afraid we're smoking.
A couple weekends ago, the Devane family in Greenwood woke up to a fire on their back deck.
It was like 3 in the morning and the house was full of smoke. So I ran around, got the girls up, and then I was searching the house. I even got up in the attic, like looking, where's this smoke all coming from, until we came out here.
They saw this massive hole with flames coming from the bottom of the deck.
It wasn't like big flames like you would think for that much wood being on fire, because the flames had popped this right here. And this was down, and like all the hot tub water went out and put out the fire before we even woke up.
Later that day, they called the White Bluff Rye Hill Fire Department, but even they couldn't figure out how it could have started. There are no electrical lines in this spot. The fire department tells us the fire appeared to have burned the deck from the bottom up. So how did this happen? Well, could there be an extraterrestrial explanation?
My friend Paul gives me this to do metal magnet fishing.
Right.
And I literally went like that, and like that, and like that, and it clicked, and like I got a bite, and there it was. You want to see it?
Yeah, we'd love to see it. Wow. That picked up real fast.
Why would there be this kind of fire and a metal rock?
Right. Could it have been a meteorite? Well, we may never officially know. We reached out to the USGS, and they said for a rock to be certified as a meteorite, it's at least a 1-year process, and it has to be approved by the governor.
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure
Wow,
out.
I have so many questions. It caught me in the middle of.
Was that rock just part of a bigger rock, or was that it?
Because I mean, then they showed video of where it was almost like fragments. So I wonder if maybe once it hit the ground, it kind of shattered.
That I can see that happening
like
because there's no way. I mean,
That
maybe
needs to
there's a
be-
way, but I don't think.
I mean, it would have to be such force to make that, you know what I mean?
Right, that's true.
Of course, it did fall from space. It's not like a 3rd-story building. Or
Right.
Yeah.
And crazy. So you know, I don't know if you heard, but so you saw it was right next to the hot tub. So when it landed, it poked a hole in the hot tub, and the water from the hot tub spilled out and put out the fire.
Oh.
How perfect!
That's
Wow.
perfect.
Could you imagine seeing that happen though?
It was all planned.
It was perfectly placed.
And like,
It
where's
really
your
was.
Ring doorbell camera? Come on.
Right, that's
Oh,
right.
that
On
would
the
have
back
been
porch.
gold. A Ring doorbell.
Dude, what if he
camera.
was in the hot tub just like having a drink? Wham! This thing. Can you imagine?
I'm just saying, I think this guy should get a lottery ticket.
I think
Just
so, too.
saying, you know?
Crazy.
That is crazy.
All right, we'll be right back.
Well, hello there. I'm going to be on there earlier. Well, hello there. I'm going to be on a little bit earlier than normal. How about them apples?
back to the 4 to 5. Thanks for being with us. Eric, Chad, Claire, Sydney, all together. Tanya's over there. Tanya will be along in just a minute.
That's right, absolutely.
Got a lot to talk about, and I feel like in the weather department, there's not too much to talk about over the next couple of days. It's all nice.
It is going to be nice, but unseasonably warm. I mean, I'm comfortable in sleeveless dresses, and it is end of October.
Yeah.
But changes are coming. I won't give it all away for now.
It's a good tease. All right, thank you. We begin this half hour with an update on the Israel-Hamas war. Senator Ted Budd says there are North Carolinians among the hostages there.
He shared the news during a speech on the Senate floor where he demanded the release of Americans being held by the terrorist group before any U.S. aid is sent to the Gaza Strip.
This all comes as the U.S. Pentagon says Fort Liberty troops are preparing to deploy to the Middle East. The Department of Defense says a variety of military units were put on prepare to deploy orders, but they have not yet been activated. The department has directed additional Patriot missile battalions from Fort Liberty to work alongside other units the Department of Defense sent to the Middle East region.
Israel briefly sent troops into Gaza in preparation for the next stage in its bloody conflict with Hamas.
And it is a sign that the crisis is growing on both sides of the border.
Israel released video of its tanks entering Gaza overnight and striking Hamas targets. The military says the raid was to prepare the battlefield before an expected ground invasion to root out terrorists. In the meantime, the airstrikes continue. Ambulances raced through Gaza after Israel said it carried out about 250 strikes in the last day. The military says it's targeting Hamas infrastructure, but a growing number of civilians are caught in the crossfire, and hospitals are struggling to treat the injured while running low on fuel and supplies. While the conflict rages, protesters gathered in Tel Aviv to keep the focus on about 220 hostages held by Hamas since its October 7th rampage into Israel.
I want my brother back now. I want him safe. I want to make sure that he's taken care of. I want to know what his condition.
As Israel continues its airstrikes on Gaza, Hamas is returning fire. Militants have launched thousands of rockets over the border, keeping residents on edge. This woman had stopped to talk with us when the sirens sounded the alarm. Her two sons are Israeli soldiers at the Gaza border. She says she's both scared and proud.
Well, I'm very proud because they're good boys. They want just to live and to love. They don't want war.
Israel is also positioned to defend its northern border with Lebanon, but the Israeli defense minister says its war is only with Hamas and that the ground invasion will begin when conditions are right. Tina Kraus, CBS News, Tel Aviv.
Meantime, the country of Qatar has been helping with negotiations to release the hostages. So far, just 4 civilians have been freed.
Let's get to your 4 to 5 roundup now. An urgent manhunt is underway for a suspect in the deadly mass shooting in Maine. Robert Card is accused of killing 18 people and injuring several others. Now, police say Card shot up a bowling alley and a restaurant in Maine's second largest city. His family is urging him to turn himself into police. Card faces 8 counts of murder so far, pending the identification of the other victims.
Union workers in Michigan are set to vote on a deal that could end the 6-week strike involving United Auto Workers. Last night, the union and Ford reached a tentative agreement that would include a 25% wage increase plus cost of living raises.
This week, Apple is raising the price of its subscription rates for Apple TV Plus and other services. Apple TV Plus subscribers will now pay $9.99 a month, $3 more than the previous price. This is the second price hike for Apple TV Plus since its 2019 launch. The move comes on the heels of Netflix announcing a similar price hike to its services.
Well, with high pressure lingering just offshore, that clockwise rotation bringing in those southerly winds, aiding in highs being seasonably warm today. Average normally in the upper 60s. Well, we're in the upper 70s and even some spots lower 80s, like right here in Lexington, 80 degrees, 79 in Reidsville. You can see those southerly winds anywhere between 5 to 10 miles per hour, aiding and bringing in that warmer air. We're cooling off heading into tonight with a little bit more clouds building into the area. We are back in the middle 50s, but the next few few days, we're trending even warmer than what we saw today. We're back in the lower 80s for the weekend, but there are big changes on the way as a cold front moves into the area late on Monday night. That's going to drop our temperatures from the 80s into the 30s, as you can see, the big changes all the way coming from Saturday and into Sunday. Very warm for your upcoming weekend. That's all I had. A very nice Halloween, I would say. Spookily chilly, upper 50s, lower 50s heading into Wednesday.
You know, next week's forecast, you saw it, it's going to have you putting on the heat. Have you already turned the heat on?
Nope.
Not yet.
Yes.
With a
No.
capital N.
Okay.
I really like to keep my house at a regulated temperature.
Okay. I do
too.
My mom would be very upset with me because she's like, you're wasting money, but I need to have it at a certain temperature
What
when I
is
sleep.
that temperature?
It depends. If it's the heat, 65 when I sleep, but if it's the air, 70 when I sleep.
So between 65 and 70.
Okay, all right.
That's
We
about
keep
right.
our house pretty cool by choice. I mean, it's usually 65.
I like that.
That's how we like to sleep, and that's how we'll stay during the day like that.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of families out there that need help to keep their house warm this winter, and we're just beginning all of this. WfMY News 2 partners with Baraco Fuels for the Gift of Warmth program. Last year, 1,400 families or so were helped so they could keep the heat on. When you donate, Baraco matches your donation.
It might be that one-time situation, where they've been on their feet for many years of the past, and then they all of a sudden need it. Back in the day, my grandfather would store some extra money in a drawer somewhere for that needy family that would come by and have some needs throughout the holidays or winter season. And, over the years, that became a higher need.
And it is a much higher need. They say that there's 1 in 4 families in the tribe that need some sort of help.
Wow.
So, I mean, when you think about that, it's not just for Baraco customers, it's really for anyone with any kind of heat that you have. I mean, it is the Baraco, gift of warmth, but it really, it's for whatever kind of heat you use.
And you think about, in the summer, you can always open windows and put fans in and stuff,
Sure.
but in the winter, there's not but so much you can do.
Tough.
Right, to get warm. So
Right.
now the gift of warmth is heating assistance for Guilford, Alamance, Rockingham, and Caswell counties. But this is not the only way to help. I want you to know that you can round up your bill. Round up your bill. Let me show you. Okay, so I have Piedmont Natural Gas, and they do what they call share the warmth. Basically, my bill for $39.79, they round up the bill and give the extra to share the warmth. So, it's just like 21 cents, right? Duke Energy has the same thing. The round up to make the bill even was 58 cents. And then they give that round up and they use that as the pool money to help their other customers, right? So it's something where, like, you may say, well, I don't know that I can help, in giving a whole donation, but maybe I can just help by rounding up my bill.
And you're already asked that stuff when you go to the grocery store, right?
Yes,
So,
yes.
it's like 21 cents.
Right. It's not going to break your bank. It's going to be less than $1 every single time
Yeah,
you
but
do
if you
it.
had millions of people doing this,
Sure.
then now you got
Imagine
something.
the difference that would be made
Right.
there.
Imagine the difference. That's right. So I challenge you to go to whatever you have, Duke Power or whatever heating and cooling and whatever, that kind of stuff, and see if you can round up your bill. All right, with heating and AC on the brain, guess what? We have 2 HVAC experts joining us from 5:30 until 6 tonight. You can text them and ask any HVAC kind of question you have. This might settle some spousal arguments. I'm just going to say it right now, right? Because sometimes one says, oh, this is what's best for our stuff, and the other person says, I don't think you're right. Text in your question, 336-379-5775.
So, how now, brown cow? 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you hear me now? Hello. Thank you.
This time of year, the Halloween season opens the doors for old and new scary movies.
Yeah, today WfMY News 2's Manning Franks has a special treat for you. He's sharing his thoughts about 4 movies in one review.
Happy Halloween from Manning to you. I hope that this is a day where the ghouls will scream, "Boo!" But before the holiday passes us by, I have a few spooky recommendations for your wandering eye. So, sit back on the couch. You had better not move, because each of these films are to approve.
Put your hand on it. Now say, talk to me.
Arguably one of the most unsettling films of the year, Talk to Me personifies the horrific act of ghostly possession as an addiction that is all-consuming.
Talk to me.
In the movie, a grief-stricken young girl becomes addicted to the thrill of being possessed. However, dark things transpire when one of the ghosts turns out to be her recently deceased mother. That's better. As Talk to Me slowly and disturbingly unravels, we, like the main character, begin to question what is real and what is not. The film is currently available to both rent or buy digitally and physically. Who says sci-fi doesn't fit perfectly with horror? Anchored by a foreboding atmosphere, creepy sound design, and a brilliant, near-silent performance by Caitlin Dever, the film No One Will Save You brings new meaning to the term alien home invasion. When one isolated woman's dwelling is invaded by extraterrestrials, she must fight them back to save what little she has left. What it lacks in horrific imagery, No One Will Save You makes up for in pure, thrilling terror. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. This film is exclusively streaming on Hulu.
There's a crazy person out here hunting us. You got Rosa Parks on your shirt, right? Would she be sitting down right now?
I mean, that's exactly what she did.
In much lighter fare, The Blackening, from ride-along director Tim Story, lampoons horror's known racial tropes and stereotypes by crafting a comedic parody fit for those looking to laugh this Halloween.
We have to split up.
When a group of old college friends get together for a Juneteenth party, they quickly realize that they're not alone, as a killer attempts to pick them off one by one. The film, while saying nothing new, still offers memorable characters and genuine hilarity for anyone who knows the tropes of a horror movie. You can currently rent or purchase The Blackening digitally or physically.
In this house.
What some see as a patience-trying slow burn, others like myself may find Skinamarink to be atmospheric horror at its most terrifying. In the film, 2 young children awake in the middle of the night to an empty house. But how can they escape when all the doors and windows keep disappearing? Although noticeably low budget, Skinamarink still plays upon our primal fear of the unknown by essentially creating an analog horror world viewed through the eyes of a frightened child. You can stream Skinamarink on Hulu, Shudder, or AMC+. While spooky films can be enjoyed any time of year, I hope that these few you stream will strike both terror and fear. From News 2 Reviews, I'm Manning Franks. Happy Halloween.
Nope.
And the very own Manning Franks at the table with us right here. So out of the 4 movies, is it hard to choose which one is probably your favorite?
No, only because they are all so very different. I tried to make it's funny because I didn't know what I was going to review this week. And I decided, you know what, why pick one when I can try to do 4? And our producer Aaron, I told him, I'm so sorry, this was almost a 4-minute piece, the longest that I've almost done here. But it was worth it because I wanted to make sure everyone got a nice breath.
Didn't feel like
for
you
Halloween.
did great.
Thank
Yeah.
you. But for Halloween, everyone has their own different level. Like you have The Blackening, which is for those who like a little bit of comedy in their horror, and Skinamarink for those who like really terrifying chills without any gore or whatnot.
I think that, because it's told through the eyes of children, makes it even scarier.
Yeah, and that one is really terrifying because it's not exactly stuff you see, it's a lot of in the dark.
So with the cameras, did it have video cameras or something? Because it wasn't
is.
regular cameras.
Well, fun fact, it was shot on like a really cheap camera.
Oh, got it.
So it is really, really low budget. So they tried to make it as, shall I say, in that universe as possible without it trying to go too big budget, if that makes any sense whatsoever.
Interesting.
Wow. I've only seen one of those.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different options. You can all streaming or all able to rent or buy physically or digitally this Halloween season.
The two worlds colliding with sci-fi and scary is interesting too.
That's a great
I'm
one.
a big sci-fi person, so I have to check that one out.
You'll love that one.
You saw it too.
I did. I loved it. All right, we're coming back. Barbecue Festival this weekend, we are highlighting what makes the city so great, but we're also debunking a centuries-old mystery that's in the woods just west of town. Did Daniel Boone really live in Boone's Cave? WfMY News 2's Ben Briscoe went searching for the answer.
About a 10-minute hike takes you back in time to when North Carolina was a colony. Local folklore has it that from 1750 to 1753, a teenager, Daniel Boone, and his family lived in this cave.
This thing is like 20 feet deep back here. It gets pretty dark. You really need your phone flashlight to be able to see. And it's not that tall. I mean, I can barely stand up. That's about it.
Right off the Yadkin River, the place would have made for a great shelter from the elements. But the mystery surrounding the area is deeper than the cave itself. So we asked the Davidson County History Museum to shed some light on the legend.
There's a couple versions of the legend. One is that the Boone family lived in the cave until they acquired the land necessary to build a home. Another version is that it wasn't a long-term or temporary home. It was just a place that Daniel Boone would go on his camping and hunting excursions. There is possible proof that he lived here.
In 1908, a Lexington woman found this property deed in an old cabinet she inherited from her grandfather.
This deed has Daniel Boone's authentic signature on it here. Fortunately, the pieces that we have left of this document are not enough to tell us what piece of land was actually of interest here.
But the deed matched with local stories handed down from generation to generation. And that got some in the area to search around the cave. One man thought he knew where the house was that the Boone family built after living in the cave.
He finds a stone in the foundations that are initialed D. Boone.
Researchers have since concluded there's no way to confirm the rock was actually carved at the time Daniel Boone might have lived there. But it was enough evidence for locals to create the Daniel Boone Memorial Association in 1909. They lobbied the state to create Boone Cave Park.
Taking in all this evidence, how realistic is it that he actually lived here?
I believe 100% that he was here. As far as him living here, we've yet to find the proof. We have a lot of circumstantial evidence, but we're just waiting for that one piece that we need to really prove that he's here, and that's where this other document comes in.
For the first time ever featured on TV news is this newly discovered land survey, which references the Boone property during the time in question.
It also mentions a sandy creek, and local people know that we have a sandy creek in Davidson County today. However, the names of the creeks have changed several times between today and 1752. So this is a piece of evidence that needs to be researched further.
It's amazing. So he was here, but we're not sure whether he lived there. But to me, if he's there and you have proof of that, that's good enough. You know?
I agree. Yeah. I was kind of listening to what she was saying, that there was evidence. Yeah, like you said, that he might have been there. But it'd be interesting if that was really true, that he did live there. Wouldn't that be something?
I mean, the DB rock was
the
kind of
DB
cool.
was very interesting, chilling, kind of almost too.
Yeah, I don't know if that's not concrete. Then what is? I'm just wondering. I mean, what can you find at this point after all that?
I know.
Probably not much.
Yeah.
All right, there's so much to do in Lexington, so we've created a guide with everything you need to know about it. Just text BBQ to 336-379-5775, and we will send you that link.
Maybe you are heading to the barbecue festival, heading into your Saturday. Well, it's going to be pretty warm, especially into tomorrow. We're back in the lower 80s. Very warm conditions continuing throughout this weekend, but big changes are on the way thanks to a cold front sweeping in Monday night. We're going from the 80s into the 30s as we head into the middle of next week. Halloween is going to feature cooler highs back in the upper 50s, lower 30s, with AM frost even likely heading into the later end of next week.
Oh, is this mic button too? It's probably not.
It's mine, it's 5.
No, it's 5. Boo.
Hi, Minnesota, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Hampshire.
18 more than a dozen are hurt after a shooting rampage in Maine.
What? Oh, 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. Mic check.
Hello, ice cold milk and an Oreo cookie, they forever go together like a classic combination.
We can do it better.
Okay, now I can hear. Yes, testing 1 2 3. Test, test, test. Testing 1 2 3.
When you meet someone new, there are all sorts of basic topics you discuss. Where you're from, your hobbies, and what you do for a living. When I meet someone new and eventually tell them what I do, sometimes their initial response is, "I don't watch the news, it's too negative." I hate when they say that for a couple of reasons. First, not all of the news is negative. We pride ourselves on not just covering every car crash, shooting, or robbery. We do our best to cover the stories we think you care about, the stories that actually matter. I can't speak for the other stations, however. Another reason I don't like that response is because it sounds like they actively try to avoid what's actually going on in the world and are misinformed because of it. Everyone knows we don't live in a perfect, happy world, but choosing to avoid knowing about current events because they can be negative is, in my opinion, a sheltered way of living your life. And besides, we know which stories people are reading on our website. Many of them are the crime stories. Think about all the shows people love watching or listening to. 48 Hours, Dateline, 2020, and all those murder mystery shows and podcasts. They're some of the most watched shows on TV, and there's nothing positive about them. Bottom line, watching the news, no matter which version of it, is important. Current events are important, and seeing what's happening in the world matters. That's just my 2 cents. And your 4 to 5. WfMY News 2 at 5 starts right now.
At least 18 people are dead and more than a dozen are hurt after a shooting rampage in Maine last night.
The suspect is still out there. Investigators say there were 2 shooting locations in Lewiston, Maine. The first at a bowling alley just before 7 last night. 7 people died there. The second was 10 minutes